Well, I had a bit of a rough day today. Uh, Started out here marking out the wing so I could process the control surfaces and cut all the hatches and everything. Um, and you'll see later in the video, but I started like cutting things out, and everything I cut was like the paint would just like flake away, it would chip. And yesterday I had scraped the tip of the wing on the wall, and it like scratched the paint off the wingtip on the underside. um, Totally my fault. The thing that's weird about this plane is like you're working on one wing half, and all of a sudden the other wing half bumps into something, and you're just like, what? Like, why is the wing over there? Because it's like supposed to be, over to your left, for example, but it's behind you because you're working in this corner, right? So anyway, but I've had some paint issues for like a year, and I've only built I've only painted, I think, two airplanes in the year, right? I built a large, like a full scale aircraft last year. It took me all year to make it, and I painted it, and we had issues with the paint, and I just kept thinking, like, what in the heck happened with the paint? I just don't get it. And then, um, some guys at work were saying, oh, you shouldn't paint in the mold. It doesn't, it's not working right. And I'm thinking, no, it actually is. It does work right, and the paint's super durable, and our planes are have great paint jobs. So anyway, on this one, I thought, you know what? Just to be safe, I'll scuff it down. I'll acetone it. I'll make sure this is a really good paint job. That way, I can maybe show it to them and go, look, this is what we expect. And the paint's peeling off of this plane. Not bad, right? But like easier than it should. And all of a sudden, it hit me. I had mentioned it early on in this build that I've been very happy with using acetone. Acetone makes it so easy to spray in the molds. You're spraying on mold release, and basically there are no fish eyes. There are almost zero fish eyes. Unless you try to get a fish eye, you're not going to get any fish eyes, which is like a game changer, right? Because typically you have to like fog coat it on. You have to do it in multiple passes and light coats. And I usually wait like 5 minutes in between coats until it's like fully coated and bridged, and I can lay it on. And that it's like the process is like a 45-minute process or a 30-minute process to paint some tools. And it's the acetone. The acetone is essentially just drying out the paint. It's dry. You spray the first layer in, and that layer is too dry for the next layer. Like the open time has expired immediately because the acetone is drying out the paint. Anyway, it's not working right. And so the issues I'm having with this plane are exactly the issues I had at work with the other plane. And so I want to take back what I said earlier, because I recommended trying acetone for reducer in your single stage paint, and I won't do it anymore. Yeah, crazy. So anyway, I've been pulling my hair out all day because every time I go to cut anything on the airplane, it just chips and flakes away, and it's just driving me nuts because I can't stand it. Like, I want like clean edges, and the things just every time I touch it, it just the quality of the plane just goes downhill like instantly. So I'm dying, right? And then I didn't get a lot of footage today. I took a couple clips of a couple things, but I got the control surfaces cut and ready for wipers. I got all the hatches cut open. I looked inside. There's some areas of the spar that I think could use a little bit more epoxy. I can see the bead inside. I can see that it's glued, but there's no squeeze out in areas like on the edge that I'm looking at, and it's not hard for me to put the plane up on its side and get some epoxy in there and let it run down in there and fill that void. So because it's a swept wing, I have to do it. It's both sides. They're like the same, so I need to do it on both sides. And I'm going to put wipers on this. I had a little bit of trouble doing the hinge. The ailerons are so tiny and my hands are so fat. I have like a massively wide gap on the tiny little aileron. Like it's on the order of a gap that you would see on a flap of a 2 or 3 meter plane. It's big. So I kind of messed those up, but I think all said and done, it's not bad. Any chips that I had, I just sanded down to the carbon. Underneath the nose of the airplane on both sides, I had some small bridging happen. It's a weird contour there, and I had some small bubbles in the surface, and I started picking at them, and the paint was flaking off, and I just started sanding it, and I thought I'm just going to sand until everything's gone and it's smooth carbon. And by the time I got done, I had sanded both sides like, 8 or 10 inches. It's a small little area just below the parting line, and you can't hardly see it in the videos, but it's there, and it doesn't look bad. It's looks similar to how it's going to look after a couple landings probably, but I had to smooth that up. But yeah, the hinge line and the all the control surface cuts, they were just a major headache, and I'm not done. Like, I'm still kind of cleaning up those edges. Yeah, so that's what happened today. So what I'm doing here is scoring the hinge line. That's the bottom of the wing. I have that straight edge set up right where I want the hinge, and I'm using that diamond cutoff wheel up against that straight edge and just going down the line. I'm putting light pressure on the skin, and when the cutoff wheel hits the Kevlar, it won't cut through as long as I'm not like really laying into it. And just try to have a steady hand and go down that straight edge. And sometimes I have to make a few passes to do it. As soon as I started this process, I realized that all of my tools that I use for processing control surfaces, I left them up north at work. And so, like, the first thing I really needed that I didn't have was a larger diameter diamond cutoff wheel. That one that I'm using is the only size I have. It's the one, I think that's like a 7/8. It's horrible for this job because it's not big enough to keep the chuck of the Dremel up off of the trailing edge. And so look, I think I'm rubbing it right there because, yeah, you see that little scratch? Because I'm using too small of a wheel. I should have put tape down there, and I think I put tape down. I think this is the second side I did. But anyway, I just one thing after another, scratching that up, chipping this and that up. So here's some razor saws that I use, and I have different. The Irwins are my go-to, right? But they're too thin for this. my experience with swept wings is that the control surfaces want to bind up against each other on the ends. And so I wanted to start with a thicker one. And I have this one. This one is measuring at 25 thou. And so it's like 10 thousandths wider than the Irwin. At least the blade is, but the cut is also 10 thousandths wider. So I think it leaves about a 30 thou cut or a 35 thousandths wide cut. So I wanted some wider gaps, and of course, since I had to clean up all that paint, I might as well have started thin and, you know, gave me some wiggle room to clean up. But I generally don't have issues with chipping or anything, and so I just went straight to the gap that I needed, or I thought it was a good starting point anyway. But this is, once the hinge is actually cut through and I can see Kevlar all the way down it on the bottom side, I cut the end cuts next. And I have this also marked out on the top surface. I have a line that's drawn probably about a 1/16 of an inch forward of the hinge line. And then I have another line drawn that's about an 1/8 inch forward of that for the gap. And it's supposed to taper. My plan was to taper it from an 1/8 inch at the root down to like a 1/16 of an inch at the aileron tip. But when I was cutting, I think my straight edge had moved. And so I ended up with like a uniform like 1/8 inch gap all the way down. And I had to make the other side match it. And so that's where I ended up on that. Once I get the top cut done to the lines, then I rotate the saw vertical just like I have it here, and I'm cutting, trying to get right up to the actual hinge. So I cut a little bit and I'll look up underneath. See, I'm taking the Irwin here so I can get a fine little cut, and then I'm looking underneath and I want to stop the cut right at the center of the hinge, because the cut on the top is forward of that. And that way it doesn't bind up when you move the control surfaces up. The skin folds underneath the skin in front of it. So here I am still processing those end cuts. I'm sanding this because it's chipped up, and you can't see it very well here, but I generally don't sand these until I'm completely finished. But the chips in the paint were like, I was trying to figure out what's happening, and I just didn't want to keep going further until I had a handle on it. But that's what's going on with this. I just chipping my way through it. So at the end of the day, I got the plane to set it up on this pad, and I wanted to show you guys how the nose looks, how thin it is up under there. It's quite thin, the whole thing is. And then I'm going to flip it over, and that we can see the hatches and things like that. Here's the control surfaces. They are just about ready for wipers. I have a couple small little things to deal with, but I'll do wipers soon. I'll flip it over here. I've got the battery hatch cutouts, all the servo wires. I didn't get a lot of epoxy on that spar because I didn't want to have too much squeeze out and it go in all those wires, and then it's game over because I can't run wires through this wing now. Like at this point, it had to be done before closeout. So we're all right here. There's that chip. I just scuffed it down and sanded it. I mean, it's more than a chip, but I blended it out, and then there's that. I didn't clean that up yet, but that's how every cut was. It was just all chunky around the sides. Here's an 18650, fits in there nicely. My receiver will fit under the skin, it's thinner. And all the servos are fitting inside. So that's all good to go. It's going to be tough to get the linkage done though, but I'll deal with it when I get there. And then I set this on the bench because I wanted to show you how much. Look at the twist in the wing here. Like how much, I don't, is that, I want to call it reflex, but is that washout? I don't know if that's the right terminology, but look at that. It's like a propeller. And that's, you know, why it shouldn't need vertical stabs. But yeah, it's wild, huh? I just thought no one's really seen this, I don't think. So I wanted to show that. It's crazy. And lastly, I decided to double check to make sure it fits in the car. And it does. So that's important. And I was happy to see that it's in there. So I'll keep you guys posted on the happenings when I get back on this. I don't think anything significant's going to happen to it tomorrow, but I'll definitely fill you guys in as soon as I get something done.